What's up, makeup minions? I'm Kim Winnie from WitteArtistry. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and hit the bell so you get notifications on when I release new makeups. But today I'm going to teach you how to turn into Rem the Shinigami from Death Note. Let's begin. Very special thank you to my feature patrons, Bradley Shear and Dantastic. You guys are freaking awesome, so thank you for supporting me in such a massive way. I'm going to be turning my arm into Rem the Shinigami from Death Note, which is like one of my favorite anime and manga of like all time. You're going to need sculpting wax, a lotion to smooth the wax, and any kind of cream paint or water-activated paint, some tools for sculpting, and some tools for painting. Here we go. I'm going to be wetting the water-activated body paint. I decided to use the Mehron Edge palette for basically the entire thing because it was a product that I just recently bought, and I wanted to know how it worked, so that's why. You're going to mix a little bit of white with black to create a gray, and I'm going to be creating sort of a more realistic look than Rem's actual arm. He has a pretty simplified arm that just looks like chunky white things with points at the end. So I am looking at his upper arm where he has like these thick bone gauntlet looking things that are joined by a little flexible gray sleeve, and then his hands have fingers that almost look like they're attached with points, and then little bone joints in between them. So anyway, fill all those pieces in with white, a white off gray, and I'm going to be adding highlights and shadows to the entire thing to make it look super three-dimensional. And now I'm adding the joints to the fingers, making the points down at the knuckles, adding the thumb. Make sure you eat before you do this makeup because it gets very difficult once you have your hand painted. I'm creating ridges on the arm gauntlets that kind of emulate bone, so I was looking at both pictures of Rem the Shinigami, but also just like the epicondyle on bone and the texture on bone, and just copying that. I will be adding in warm tones into the skin tone as well by mixing it with some brown. Adding dimension to the fingers. Basically, once you have that mid-tone of a gray-white, every single time you add white on top of that base tone, it'll create a highlight, and you can blend that out with a wet brush, and it just becomes really three-dimensional looking, which is cool. Add gray between all of the joints. I'm not really sure how this character can move, but we don't need to question the laws of anime physics. Outline all of the things with a muted gray tone, so this is more black than white, but still not pure black. Outline the hand, and I'm going to be adding some ridges and some cross-hatching to the bone. And also I will be outlining this entire thing with black later, but we'll get to that. Add some texture to the bone to make it look more porous. Just add some dots and some squigglies, and then blend it out a little bit with some water. In the center of the gauntlets, they have like a dip or a shadow to them, so I am blending away from the popped out ledge down into the groove. Now onto the hand. I am accentuating my tendons in my hand by creating shadows on the left and the right side of them, blending them out. And then outlining the edges of the hand and adding more of those artificial ridges to the bone shapes that Rem has. Add some dots and some lines with some highlights. I am adding, now I'm outlining the whole thing in black. I can talk today, I promise. Fill it all in. This will look really freaking cool in front of a black background. Rem has these cool little spikes that come out of the side of the arms too, going all the way up her shoulders, so I'm adding those onto the wrist as well. Add more dots, then I'm adding black into the darkest centers of the bones. Not to the point that it looks super cartoony, but I wanted to have like a cartoon effect so it fits in a little bit more with the whole anime style. And then I'll be adding detail and more detail with brown dots, black dots, gray dots, slightly off yellow dots, and just doing that a lot. By the way, I do really like the Edge palette. So normally I use the Paradise paint by Mehron or the Any Paint, the Hydro color from Wolf, and I'm quite a fan, but Mehron came out with a new product recently that's super made for detail. It's made to edge things, and it's way darker than their Paradise paint, so it's pretty similar to Wolf, so I really like their palette and that, and I hope they come out with a new one. I decided to make the hand more detailed and realistic because Rem's hand just looks like a big white chunky blob with points at the end, and I wanted to have it fit in with the rest of the arm. So I added some holes, almost like muscle tissue or like a broken bone in like a desert. Filled in with black, and then I'm outlining the edges with a mid-tone brown gray and highlighting on top of the little hills, and it'll create the illusion of little hills and holes. Outline the edges of the pointed knuckles with black. I'm pretty much just making up the hand as I go because the reference images of Rem are terrible. It's really not that detailed on the actual character. Blend the black line of the pointed knuckles towards the inner part of the finger bones. This will make a ridge. And then add dots and details to the hand. I took a really light brown and sort of just squiggled around. I think it's called scumbling. Yeah, it's called scumbling when you take the brush and just sort of wiggle it around all over to create a texture. I did that, and then I blended out some of the dots that I thought were too cartoony. Now on to the fun part. Make sure you go to the bathroom before this or eat your food or something because this modeling wax is sticky. I am using modeling wax and sculpting these fingers. You could also use finger extenders or claws if you wanted to do this for an actual costume because you won't be able to touch anything with the wax. But you put it on, you sculpt it with lotion. Make sure your fingers are covered with lotion when you use the stuff, otherwise it will stick to your hand and everything. Then you want to powder it with baby powder to prevent sticking and also to make it not look super shiny anymore. So I'm adding some baby powder to that. You could do baby powder or translucent powder or setting powder, whichever one you have. And then you can literally just paint on top of it. Make sure your room isn't boiling hot like mine was because the wax will start melting and it'll come off in tiny little chunks when you paint on top of it. So using wax in a colder room is definitely a lot smarter than what I was doing, but it's winter and it was cold, so I just decided to say screw it and do it anyway. Outline the fingers with black body paint. This will complete the illusion of having super skinny bone-like fingers and hands. Gotta really get in there and get some creepy, evil, grinchy death claws. Adding the detail to the finger joints to separate each piece. I'm adding black and then more stippling and scumbling to those. And then adding these little ridges onto the fingers as well. These you have a pretty good reference image of a human hand, so you can just look up one of those and sort of shade the bones in gray tones. And then add little bits of brown. Add your highlights. Blend them out some more. Add some more dots. Now we're getting to the point where we're in the level of detail that only Kims care about. And voila! You are done. You are now a Shinigami from the elbow down. Congratulations. I love this though. It's so cool. I appreciate you guys sticking to the end of this video and giving it a thumbs up. The YouTube algorithm is a crazy, weird thing, so if you can share it with someone, that would be amazing. This was really relaxing. This was a makeup after about 2 months of not painting. A lot of the things you've been seeing recently have been pre-recorded. And I had just been really overwhelmed and anxious, and then just sitting down and doing something creepy that wasn't on my face just completely has renewed my painting vigor. So yes, I hope you guys like it. I think it looks super cool. Yes. Also, huge shout out to my wonderful Patreon producers. Whoa. Thank you guys for believing in me. You're awesome. I love you. And thank you for watching and donating your time and money to this channel and to what I do as an artist. You guys are amazing. And I'll see you in the next video. And of course, the heater turns on at the end of my audio recording session. Mwah.